Oh, what's up, World Wide Web? Eddie, unstable my ass. All right, let's try this again. What's up, World Wide Web? Daddy, your angry guy, and it's time for Skelecember Part 3. So, all month long, or so far, last episodes of the month, we are going through and we're talking about old Bonehead. Make sure we get everybody. Anyways, yeah, the topic of discussion night will be old Bonehead. I figured, you know what, I'll throw in a little bit of background. Hopefully, this don't get me booted off YouTube. This is what I'm not talking about. Just keep it the way it is until they say, you're out of here. All right, like I said, it's Skelecember week and was aiming on going live a little bit earlier. However, things here in the studios happen, so it is what it is. Just me, or I'm not digging this, sitting this far away. I mean, yeah, everybody can see all the cool stuff I've got in the background. All my vintage stuff sitting back here. People probably still wondering where is the plastic stuff. It's all sitting over here. It's kind of out of the way, preparing for a big tournament that, as y'all know, it's we're gonna kick off a new year with the tournament of the most best liked figure as far as how it's designed, how it's sculpted, yada yada yada. Anybody follows me on Facebook probably saw a video of me getting a huge box of fodder parts, stuff like that, and which actually result of it was actually some figures that are going to be added in, not only like custom stuff that I've done or what come from Mattel, Super 7, wherever. Got some new entries, a little more coming up, so it may actually fill out a huge field of prospects here. But anyways, I think you guys have heard me gab enough about that over the last few weeks. And I'm not digging this smaller chair. I hate being like this. Aha, better. Get back to my normal stance here. Feels so much better. All right. So, brief recap. Week 1, we talked about, always when I do this live, I swear, ouch. I will get through one of these episodes uninterrupted one day. Where is it? Okay, week 1 we talked about Prince Keldor. Covered Prince Keldor. Last week we talked about Demo Man, and it started on the backstory of Bonehead all the way through everything up until everything through 1983. Today we're going to cover everything from 84 to basically 1990. Which means, yes, we are going to discuss the New Adventures version of Skeletor. I didn't see this one happen already. It's distracting me too much in the background. So, with that being said, let's start out with the 84 UK World Annuals, in which Skeletor is described as being one of the most evil beings in the universe. In a departure from any other canons that we'd seen previously, he was basically a member of a race that looked a lot like him. Apparently, Skeletor is the family surname. Apparently, one of his ancestors stolen a jewel charm from Castle Grayskull. And his great-grandfather, who was a pirate, lost the charm when his ship sank. Still used magic sword and havoc staff, occasionally a purple axe. Gather his evil warriors through their mutual hatred of He-Man. And just the mere mention of He-Man's name would basically cause him to burst into fits of rage, usually directed at Beastman. No matter what canon it is, it seems like Beastman takes the brunt of his abuse, it seems like. From there, we get to the 84 German audio plays, which provided a different backstory. Apparently, ages ago, giants who lived in the sands of time extracted all their evil and transferred it to Skeletor. Clear if Skeletor at that point existed or if he was created. Was sent to the future to modern Eternia. Giants claimed he's immortal, but he actually wasn't. And after a brief stint as Hordak student, he assembled and created his Legion of Monster Warriors. When the Horde of Snake Men arrived on Eternia, both factions served under Skeletor. He had immense technical prowess. Didn't have any magical powers, really, but he was a master swordsman, even though he's no match for He-Man. He was depicted as being darker in personality than other canons. Somewhat of a sadist, to be honest with you. Succeeded in conquering Eternia, even if it was for like short periods of time before being defeated by He-Man and the Masters. Eventually left Eternia, became leader of the evil mutants to try to conquer the entire universe. His sword was his main weapon. He coated the blade in silver when he learned He-Man's battle armor was vulnerable to silver. Later discarded the sword for the power sword of evil, which Dragstore had found. That'd be a good story right there on its own. The thing gets me is I've never really seen this in too many other canons, was about the fact of He-Man's battle armor being susceptible to silver. So now on to the German Interpart Condor comics. Did share some elements of Filmation canon, but used a little bit of a different backstory. He was banished from Eternia, joined the Horde, became Hordak's favorite pupil, left the Horde eventually to return to Eternia, take over. He was portrayed as being more ruthless and bloodthirsty in that series. Wiped out all the Avionians, except for Stratos, by stealing their power of flight while they're all airborne. I think we talked about it a little bit during the Stratos episode. But basically, with much like any other canons, his arrogance and actions usually led to his downfall. Not really surprised there. I just realized I'm missing something for a toy thing here shortly. That wasn't it. One of the little boogers. We'll have to talk about that here shortly. Yeah, I seen He-Man's power sword go flying. So from there, we finally get the Filmation series. Finally gonna get around to it. Which, I mean, let's face it, we all know, love, and that's what brought us all together. They expanded on his characterization. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, that's right. I already covered Filmation. So now we're on to the Prince of Power series. My bad. The Prince of Power series basically expanded on his characterization from Filmation. Where it was revealed that he was actually at one point in time Hordak's pupil, was eventually betrayed by Hordak and left behind whenever they were when Hordak and the Horde went through and they basically kidnapped Adora. Skeletor went through and he basically told where Hordak and the Horde was hiding, where the base operations at, in order to try to save his own skin. Two would, of course, cross paths again when Hordak returned to Eternia in search of Adora after she had realized what was actually going on and basically turned on him. Two would continue through, working together periodically throughout the series. Whenever they get into it, Skeletor and Hordak, when they get into it, Skeletor usually best Hordak. Even tried to steal the Velvet Glove from Hordak whenever Horde Prime went on vacation. And, of course, Bonehead was going to try to use it to conquer the universe. Failed again. So, I guess during that time, we get the Christmas special, which, at that point, kind of depicted him as serving Horde Prime. Seemed like his former allegiance to the Horde kind of made him accountable, or had to answer to Horde Prime. Either that or he feared the dude. Skeletor kidnapped 2 Earth children and their puppy, trying to stop Christmas from reaching Eternia. Any of us that seen the Christmas special knows what that's about. Thanks to Queen Marlena. The Christmas spirit kind of affected his personality, bringing out his softer side. Eventually, he'd save the children in the end, but in the process, he did betray Horde Prime. And one of those rare appearances, and probably one of the scariest sights you'll ever see, is Skeletor smiling because of this. So with all the series over, we got the 86 Marvel Star Comics, which began with him using the Terror Claws to try and enter Grayskull when the Horde arrived on Eternia. Hordak gained the upper hand when Skeletor had a moment of doubt. So I guess, basically he was working with Horde, or they were working with him, whatever, throughout the majority of the comics. But in the final comics, it showed another timeline where Adam had lost Power Sword. We talked about that last year. Lost weight and in a basically in a portal to the future, which caused an alternate timeline. This one, Skeletor, since there was no He-Man to stop him, conquered Eternia and sealed Etheria away. Didn't meet his fate, though, when Adam eventually did find the Power Sword, became He-Man, and the two battled to the very end, where Grayskull fell on top of both of them. Well, I guess he brings peace back, or He-Man brought peace back to Eternia. Like I said, I think the last episode during part 2 to Skelecember was some characters, you see the backstory kind of stay the same a little bit, little deviations here and there. Skeletor is one of those ones, like I said, you get a lot of different backstories, and it's kind of interesting how it all ends up wrapping up. And I know how, Mattel, when they came out with the classics, they try to mix all this all together for the classics canon. So, not to spoil anything, we'll see how this goes. So it means now we get to move on to the 86 UK comic mags, which there he was an intergalactic tyrant, summoned by Horde Prime to the world of Academia. Hordak went through and taught him the ways of the evil Horde. Basically went through and he managed to conquer many worlds by himself. But he longed to enter the dark dimension and harness its forbidden powers. Which means eventually Hordak thought Skelly was becoming a little too full of himself. So the two had a brief skirmish. After the skirmish, he was deemed worthy of entering the dark dimension. After spending some time there and mastering the black arts, he returned, intending on taking over the entire universe. I guess he's back working with Horde, and he basically strands Hordak on a desolate moon. Prime summoned Eternia to destroy the Mystic Wall. And the first time that Adam transformed, it drew energy from the Mystic Wall, allowing Skeletor to enter Eternia. And after his first defeat at the hands of He-Man, he took refuge up in Snake Mountain, upgrading it and everything else. And we pretty much know the story from there. Basically, no matter what, He-Man's always going to best him. He may get the upper hand here and there, but for the most part, he's going to get bested. So it means now we're going to move on to UK Twins of Power magazines. For a brief time, he was placed in charge of the Horde by Horde Prime. Did succeed in overthrowing the Great Rebellion and retrieving one half the Power Sword. And there he was somewhat loyal to Horde Prime, but planned to one day betray him and overthrow him. It's good to have goals. Now, time to get a little interesting some more. Because now we're going to talk about the 87 movie that we got called Masters of the Universe. Gave him a new design, basically black robes, black all over. He did manage to conquer Eternia, taking over Grayskull and capturing the Sorceress. Eventually did manage to get He-Man's Sword of Power. And with that, he ascended to becoming God Skeletor when the Great Eye opened up. However, He-Man, as we know, escaped his clutches, got the power sword back. They went at it, and after He-Man defeated him, he was dumped into the deep pits of Grayskull. Cool thing that I didn't know, and I'm going to have to go through and actually watch it all, even at the end of the credits. Apparently, there was a scene where he didn't die. He survived and called back saying that he'd be back. I mean, you know, they did have plans to eventually go through and do a sequel, but canon films, like they done with other properties, failed, fucked up, and it never happened. Anyway, it's probably a good thing. Hopefully, the new movie, if it ever gets made, will, yeah, let's just hope to God that's never brought into the equation like the Masters of the Multiverse comics right now. Now that's being made, we also got the 87 German Ihapa comics, which depict him as being one of the planet's most powerful sorcerers. Has strong rivalry with Hordak and King Hiss over the throne of Eternia. And even though he despised the two of them, he would team up on them with an occasion if he thought it would benefit him on trying to take over Eternia. Now for one of the most infamous toys that's kind of like hard to get rid of, but where I think the idea came from, and that was from the 87 Italian Magic Boy magazines. Kind of showing us having a little bit more of a sporting side. Making bets with his allies, whenever they think that they could do something that he hadn't been able to do. Later ventures in it. He went to the future after being injured by a direct energy blast from the power sword, which was being held by He-Man. Never knew that. It's like, unless it was, I don't know, I was like, I'd love to get a hold of those to actually see what actually caused that. Why He-Man aimed the sword at him and blasted him in the face. Managed to heal himself by absorbing a great deal of evil energies from the moon Nordor. Where's Colin? Where's Lord Nordor Colin Culp when I need him for that one? It's basically made him laser light Skelly because of the things he could do and the way he was. Because, I mean, it basically became somewhat cybernetic in the process, in which next week we'll get around to looking at the laser light Skeletor body, because the one that I got didn't have a head on it. Even though by then, who knows, maybe I've made a head to put on it. So that means one thing. It is time to talk about the one series that I really have issues with. And that's the New Adventures series, and we'll start with that with the 89 mini comics. Basically, after being badly injured by an explosive burst of energy surrounding Prince Adam's transformation into He-Man, he boarded a shuttle pod aboard Starship Eternia and escaped to the future via Lasergate. While trying to heal his injuries, enhance his body with cybernetic parts, along with donning new armor and wielding a transformed version of his famous Havoc staff. He would later on meet up with the leader of the evil mutants, who was Flog, and Flog demanded that Skeletor kneel before him. Of course, Skeletor wouldn't allow Flog to finish the sentence and hit the mutant with a blast from the skull staff. After that, Flog turned over the reins of the evil mutants to Skeletor and kneeled before 'em. 'Cause, 'Skelly. 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 Now to the New Adventures animated series, which basically ignored all the events set forth in the '89 mini comics. Basically, when Hydron and Flipshot traveled to Eternity's past to seek out He-Man, Skeletor tricked his way into the future, resumed his plans trying to beat He-Man and take over the universe. This series, it had eyeballs for a change. Sometimes, I mean, that series it constantly changed, whether he had eyeballs or he didn't. It really screwed up. And once again, I'll say it again, as one of those series that looked like is one of those old church cartoons we'd see back in the late '80s, early '90s, the way it was drawn and done up and everything. Had more humor and manipulation than combat violence in this series. Allied himself with Flock of Mutants, who were already trying to take over the system. Did serve as Flogg's second command, but took advantage of Flogg's low intelligence. Basically made Flog agree to numerous schemes, but despised playing his lackey. Flog, of course, basically aware of who was really in charge and grew increasingly wary of Skeletor's antics. This is all going on while Skeletor slowly moving himself into a position of power. He did run into a wizard that actually kind of like frightened him because he's like more powerful than him. It kind of established in a way that maybe he already knew the dude. Not too long after Journey of the Future, he did gain the power of the Crystal Nordor, and said that the crystal controlled Skeletor to some extent. And he went through several incarnations on the series that kind of coincided with the toys that we would get. And in the series, apparently, Skeletor and his ally, girlfriend, whatever you want to call her, Krita, were banished into the depths of outer space, thus ending that miserable cartoon. Like I said, I love my Master Universe. I love the Filmation series. Liked what they did with the Princess Power. I love the 2000X. I just can't get behind the damn New Adventures thing. Said Skeletor changed appearances so many times it ain't funny. But that's actually, like I said, so far, I mean, we're getting all these different canons, different backstories, different looks, and one thing remains the same is he keeps getting defeated by He-Man. Even though, we're still, at this point, we're still not anywhere close to the whole idea on Keldor, even though next week, that's where we're going to eventually see the Keldor tie-in. Because we will talk about that then, but honestly, yeah, some of y'all are here to see me talk about, a character's backstories and the different canon and stuff like that, along with some of the damn toys that we've gotten. So, let's start with something that Funko did, and is bring back the Pez things. They did a little Skeletor one, and I know they did one where it's in black and everything like that. Little purple stand with the head and everything. Much like the other pop figures, they actually kind of got the face right with green and all that. I don't know how good shape they are. I've actually never taken this thing out of the box. Don't ever plan on it. Man, I was really going to try to hold off on some of these. So we'll switch back to the Filmation look for a minute, since we did talk about the Filmation Princess Power series today, and take a look at Super 7's attempt at bringing back the 5.5s, doing them Filmation style. These things are like too overly bright, too overly shiny. Honestly, it's like the legs and everything has always been an issue. I mean, they somewhat got right, but it kind of makes it easy kind of break them and they don't extend out unless you go like that. At least this one don't. It looks like it's got the ability to do it, but it's just stuck in place. So show they didn't go too much there. Did manage to get one thing right to make his Havoc staff look like his Havoc staff from the Filmation series. That was cool. Gave him a full power sword and and gave him his half one, which right there off the bat, we're going to look at it and go, it was in film. If they're going with Filmation depiction, this didn't exist. Give him that. Give him his purple, his axe. He's good. Rest of it didn't, armor and everything did look like that. But like I said, there's a lot of issues they had with them. Not a real big fan of these. I'll take the original vintage look over that. So from there, we'll go and take a look at the 2000 or the not 2000X, the New Adventures toys. Which this is the only New Adventures Skeletor I've got. I don't have too many of these New Adventures stuff. Other than the knees bending, I'm not sure what this one went to, but you see all the techno babble. But it honestly does not look like old Bonehead at all. Honestly, as a kid, I was never too impressed with the way they did these at all. They shrunk them down. Man, it's kind of cheap looking. But on that note, Mattel would get it right years later whenever they did the Classics figures, and they gave us an intergalactic Skeletor. Did very well with the sculpt and everything. Getting all the cybernetic parts attached to him and his whole new look for it. They made sure they did not give him eyeballs. Gave him just the red eyes that we saw in some of the New Adventure shows. Did a great job with the new skull staff. But like I said, honestly, it's like the thing is like one of Skeletor's like evil warriors, just cybernetically made. I mean, you take the helmet off, and I mean it's kind of plain, honestly. Like I said, they did a great job with the sculpt based off of that, but other than that, like I said, great job on the sculpt and everything. But overall, Skeletor, no, this is not. Skelecember Part 3, which honestly, if I'd known I was going to get through all this quick, I'd have probably went a little bit deeper into it, which was my original plans. But nope, can't do it, because then I thought this show longer. But next week, that means we will be covering 2000X and the comics, classics, of course, and then the 2012 comics to basically go through, finish out Skelecember. So, with that being said, I'm gonna get back to watching some He-Man and working on some things, and we'll go from there. Like I said earlier, season 3 will premiere January 3rd. We will have the kick it off with the tournament. We will discuss character, don't worry, but we're going to delve into the bracket. On the of the 16 brackets, we'll start with the first bracket and go from there. And like I said, can't say it's enough, but so way anybody watching this first time will know about it. Be a combination of 2000X classics, whether it came from Mattel or Super 7, and some customs that either I've made or other people's made, I've acquired. So everybody can vote on everything. Which voting will take place at the Angry Guy Productions page on Facebook. So that being said, I'm E-Daddy, your angry guy, angry toy guy, I guess you could say. Till next time, keep it on.